Parts and
I'm an alcoholic. It's a great privilege to introduce John to you guys. A lot of you already know him. Uh, I've been in and out of the program for a while, and I ran into him almost 3 years ago, and my life's changed completely since we met. He's one of those people that embodied this program, Alcoholics Anonymous. He doesn't just talk the talk. He walks the walk. He sleeps. It's in his life. Just from being around him and seeing how he carries himself, handles situations, it's helped me grow immensely. And if you get a chance to meet him, I highly encourage it. He's a great guy. I'm just gonna let him go. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
John, alcoholic. And you will. Congratulations on your 6 months. That's a huge achievement. Takes a little bit of effort to get that far, and we're really proud of you. So keep hanging in there. And the first time I ever said, "John, I'm an alcoholic," I was sitting right there in that chair, one of those chairs right over there, and my life completely changed after that moment. I had finally labeled, but I didn't know. And then at that point, I had to take care of it. I came in here a very broken man. My life was in complete shambles. My wife was leaving me. My business was failing. And I was a very selfish person. And I thought it was all because of somebody else's problem. I would soon find out through this program that it was my problem, that I had to deal with it. It took a lot for me to get into this room. It was Thursday night, just before Halloween. My sobriety date is November 1st, 2013. And just a little over 12 years now. And my wife said, "I'm leaving you." And I said, "Okay." It didn't even faze me, And she decided to move out and go to my daughter's house for about a week. And during that week there, first few days, I cracked the beer open when she first said that, and she walked out the house. I took a drink of it, and I looked at that beer, and I said, "You aren't fixing this one." And because that was my solution to everything. I drank everything, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, rainy out, sunny out, I drank. And it was just a part of my life. And I hung out with people like that. So I didn't really realize that I was as bad as I was until that moment. And so I contemplated over the night, kind of white knuckled it. And Saturday came around and I was just really distraught, didn't know how to handle myself. And I was talking to my daughter, and she was dating a gentleman that had 14 years of sobriety. And so he said, "Let me talk to him." And he told me, "I don't know if you're an alcoholic, but you might want to check this program out." And so I got stewed on that through Saturday, and Sunday came around. And I looked up a meeting, and I found Bordy had one on Sunday morning. So I drive down to find it. Well, the address was downtown. And so I got to there, and there wasn't anything there. And I said, "Well, fuck it. I guess it wasn't meant to be." So I start driving back down Broadway here, and I look over and 4D Alano, I see it right there. And I'm like, "Oh, shit." I pulled myself in here. The meeting's already going. Sat down, and the meeting was just starting. And I said, "Anybody here have an alcohol? Newcomers?" And that's when I spoke up, and I just broke down crying and just a mess. I was ashamed. I was, demoralized. I didn't know what to do. I was just completely lost. But you guys made me feel very welcome. first time in my life that I really felt truly connected to some people here, you know. And I have always felt that in the bars, but it's a different kind of connection here, you know. I've always been a person that got along with everybody and things like that, but the connection here just made me feel at home. I knew I was in the right spot right away. And so I sat through this meeting and don't remember much of it because I was just a mess. And a gentleman that had been working on his car, restoring his car for, we were a couple months into it and doing a bunch of custom stuff to it. And he'd watched me progress. And about a week before all this transpired, I got in a fight with my wife and over my brother screwing my cousin, first cousin. So that was a little bit wrong in my eyes. And that caused a huge conflict between me and my wife because I wouldn't go say something to my brother. So I built up the courage. Well, during that fight, I walked down the hallway and I punched the wall and broke my hand. The left hand, so I came in here with a big old cast on my hand, so people knew I was well off, well with my alcoholism, that I just deserved a seat in this chair, one of those chairs. And so from there on, it just, you know, I had to let go of that old lifestyle. When I came in here, the gentleman that I was working on his car his name was Frank Casciato. Many of you know him. He passed away a few years ago, but that man took me underneath his wing and brought me to a new life. And, you know, he met here right after the meeting. He came up to me and said, well, I've been waiting for you. I had a chair here waiting for you because I've watched you progress in this last few months that you've been working on my car. And he said, I suggest you come to this meeting tonight. And so that was the Missoula group, and that's my home group. I went in there and here again, just completely lost. But I heard things, people telling me, you know, that they have a better life than what I've been living. And I instantly had a connection to that. I understood what they were saying. And it was very difficult for me to follow everything. But people were saying, you'll get a sponsor and do these steps and just let go of everything that you ever thought of. And it's really easy. So after that meeting, I looked over at Frank and I was like, sponsor, you know, and he's like, don't worry, I got you. I'm your sponsor. So I didn't have to look for a sponsor. He was given to me. He came upon me. And that was truly a blessing because it just fast forwarded this whole program for me. And once I sat down in this chair, started getting a few days in, I started to understand what people were talking about, that uneasy feeling, the mental obsessions that we have with the alcohol, that once I take a drink, I can't stop drinking. I always just wanted more, more, more. I would lie to my wife when we went out on the Cape, you know, like the family birthdays and stuff. She'd say, okay, keep it to 2 drinks. Well, yeah, no problem. So I would down a drink and fill it back up, you know, and keep that thing always full. No, I'm just sipping, you know. Every time I turn my back, though, just down a drink, another, you know. And I was the type of guy that my typical day started out. I was a druggie and an alcoholic, so drugs are part of my story. But, you know, I would wake up and hit the bong, go to work, smoke a bowl every hour, smoke a bowl up till about noon, 1 o'clock. I would run down to the store, get a couple Sparks because I'm burnt out, and those are an energy drink with alcohol. So I drink those, and then we get a 6-pack and drink that, and then I go get a 5th of rum. And that was my daily routine. And I come home to my wife, and she'd ask me how many beers you had. And I wouldn't lie to her. I'd say, I had 2. Had 2 Sparks before, 2 beers, and then a bottle of rum. So I really wasn't lying, but my wife called them man lies.
Yeah.
So most of you women know what that is. And yeah, it was just a different type of life that I was getting into here. And I really didn't understand how deep Alcoholics Anonymous is, how much it has to offer a person in their life, and how it can change all those bad habits that I have and progress, into something that society actually will tolerate. And so, I went to every meeting I possibly could. It was 7 days a week, got in real deep, and my sponsor actually told me I had to slow down. He says, this is a lifelong process. It's not a week-long process. But as an alcoholic, I'm a guy that likes to fix things right now. I don't like to wait. And that's one of my biggest downfalls, is that I like to fix things quickly. And when I do that, I usually make the wrong decision. And through Alcoholics Anonymous, I've really come to learn that when I make those decisions off of trying to fix something quick, it's usually the wrong decision. Because I don't process what's actually going on. I'm just trying to get the monkey off my back. And I did that very well for a long time until it didn't work anymore. And that's when I had to come into here and really change my life. There's so many scenarios through Alcoholics Anonymous that I've lived through that has made me grow. First couple months I was in sobriety. I watched my aunt die. She chose to drink. She was on kidney dialysis, and she chose to go off dialysis and start drinking to end her life instead of living it. And I was 2 months in, and that kind of solidified the fact that I know that I'm in the right spot here, that I can't continue to drink and live life on life's terms, because I screw it up every time. And so at that moment, I really dove in a little harder. Just kept going to more meetings. Met with my sponsor every day until about a year and a half. Then it started fading. We went to one once a week because I started to become a little bit more sane. And our second step tells us that we return to sanity. So it told me at some point in my life I was actually sane. When it was, I couldn't tell you because I started doing, at 10 years old, I started smoking pot. At 12 years old, I started drinking, and I was full-blown alcoholic probably by the time I was 16, 17 years old. I'll go to parties, party all night, jump in a car, drive home, and have no problem with driving home. I was a very functioning alcoholic, just like through all my years. I could do anything on alcohol. I've had cops pull me over and tell me to drive everybody home. And I literally at one point told the guy, you realize I just drank $300 worth of tequila shots? And he said, drive them home and don't go back out. That's how I managed my life. I was fully functioning and didn't have a problem with doing anything when I was drunk. Did I do to my full capability? Absolutely not. Because I've learned that in my sobriety that I'm capable of way, way more than I ever put out when I was drinking. And, so the time that I spent in those early years were very detrimental to my sobriety. Every meeting I went to, I got something out of. I got a little more relief. I got a little more calm inside, and understood life just a little bit more of how to handle it. And that's one of the benefits that this program gives us, is that we get to handle life on life's terms instead of drinking them away, trying to suppress them. Because the problem with doing that is the fact that every time I suppress something, it'll come back. It just comes back harder. And then it's really a big problem instead of just a little problem at that point. And that's the ability that this program's given me, is to work through those problems and come out with the other side with a little bit of grace. And, I'm very fortunate that I did dig in so deep, because in 2017, December 7th, my son took his life. That's a hard one to deal with. And it will always be a hard one to deal with. It left a hole in my heart that will never be healed. But what I did learn, okay. What I did learn though is how to go through something with that grace that I was talking to you about. We went over to Great Falls where he was living, and I had to view my son's body. And when I got there, somehow one of his cousins put out there that this was happening. And so I walked into about 30 people waiting inside that room. And I instantly went into my alcoholism, that rage, that fear, the disgustness of everything going on. And I wasn't sure how to handle that. So I went and talked to the pastor there. And he told me one thing. He said, "What makes you think you're God? That you get to say that these people can't say their goodbye to your son, that they're not going to be able to make the funeral or some other reason." And so we had a pretty good discussion about that. And I came out to the lobby, and these 30 people that are sitting there, I said, "This is how it's going to go. You guys are all going to leave this building. We're going to view my son's body. And when we're done, the pastor offered to open this up. And he opened up these two rooms and let us view the body. And he asked me what my son's favorite song was. And I said it was songs from Nirvana. So he played Nirvana in the middle of this mortuary, and we had a party there. And that was one of the best times I had, just knowing that my son was taken care of, knowing that all these friends and family that are here get to say their goodbye. And that was a huge turning point for me for making it in sobriety, because any other day I would have drank and drank and drank and drank and drank until I suppressed it and not feel it again. And that's how I drank, because I didn't like feelings. And this program has given me that ability to work through those feelings now that I have, and process them and understand them, and then hopefully make the right decision on what I've learned or what the situation is. And so when all that went down, we waited about a month. It was January when we had our services, and we were sitting there, and people were talking about my son up top, and I was about that ready, close to lose it. And I looked over to my left, and there was 2 rows of AA members. Right then I knew I was okay. Instantly, I knew I was going to make it through this, that I was going to be okay. Granted, I'll never be the same, but I will be okay. And those type of moments in my sobriety have just given me depth to my sobriety. It solidified it. It's made it 100% sure that I am where I'm supposed to be. And that if I go away from this, I have a very good chance of losing everything I've worked for, everything that I've gained. And I definitely don't ever want to go back to drinking. It was a chaotic life. I had to lie for my lies. It was just so tough to make it through a day with being normal, as we call normal. I don't think anybody in the world is normal, but we all are different, and that's what makes the world go around. But I dug in deeper. Every time something bad happens, I dig in deeper, and it seems to me that every time I start to fade from God a little bit, back up a little bit, there's a bigger trial that comes in my life. And so I look at it that way. If something's happening wrong in my life, I look at it, what are you trying to show me, God? You know, not why is this happening to me, but what are you trying to show me? And the ease of the process that this program has taught me and that I've learned through the process and meeting with folks like you and just understanding life. And then we did, several years, we have ups and downs, through sobriety is definitely not all roses because roses have thorns too. They hurt and a lot of things in life hurt, but we get a chance to work through those. And in 2022, my mom passed away, and that was a huge growing step for me too, because she had to we had to put her in hospital in her home, and my brother was living in her house. Well, my brother's an alcoholic like I am, and actually, I think he's a little worse than I am. And he's progressing and doesn't want to do anything about it. But all I can do is keep showing him this way of life and hopefully he catches on because that's all we can do. Can't tell you that you're an alcoholic. You have to figure it out for yourself. And but when my mom was passing away, my brother couldn't even help out. It was very tough to deal with. I had to leave work, go well, first of all, I spent 2 weeks pretty much in the hospital with her. And then we moved her to the house. And I tried to show my brother how to make sure she could get to the bathroom and stuff like that. And he was falling against the wall and I can't do this. I was like, oh shit, well, she's living at your house. You're going to be the one that has to take care of her. But me and my middle brother recognized that he couldn't do that for a moment. So him and I moved in to my brother's house for a couple of weeks while she passed. During that time, they drank every single day, and every night they fought about their drinking, about being who was going to bed because they couldn't keep up with the other one. And it was screaming matches every night. And so I was having a real bad time with that. Very tough for me. And I gave my sponsor a call because that's one of the things that I learned early in sobriety is when you're going through shit, pick up the phone. Makes a difference. I did that many times throughout my sobriety. I learned that just that conversation will help you through stuff. I've had customers call me just to check on their car, and an hour and a half later, we get off the phone. They're AA members, and they understand what I'm going through. And those type of moments are pivotal. They just change your whole day. They change your life. Knowing that there's somebody out there that can help you through things if you're willing to step and ask for the help. Sometimes you don't have to ask. Some people just give it, and that's a bonus too. Because as an alcoholic, I have a lot of pride that shines, and I don't always ask for that help that needs to be asked for. And when I called my sponsor, he said, "John, be the person that you're supposed to be, and if things were supposed to be different, they would be." That kind of resonated with me. It was like, okay, yeah, if things were supposed to be different, they would be. And so I made it through that and stayed there, dealt with that, and just kind of put him out of my mind, let him do his thing, and I did mine. And I'm very fortunate that I had that opportunity to take care of my mother like I did. So it's a full circle at that point. And this program, like Will was saying, has given me the ability to handle situations that I couldn't handle before. As far as, we'll just use my other employee as an example, because Will can relate to this one really very well. And this is where he gets some of what he was talking about and how to handle things. I was about 2 years in sobriety. My employee kind of screwed up a job, and some of the work he did was cracking out. My attitude at that point, I was furious. And he said, no, I'll fix it. And I grabbed a hammer and I took it to his work and I busted everything out he did. And I said, I'll fucking fix this, you son of a bitch. Now get out of here. Okay? That was 3 years into my sobriety. Okay? Now I've had some problems with the same employee here just recently. And the whole situation went differently. I was able to calmly talk to him, tell him what the problems were with it that I have with him, make him recognize what the problems were, and then come up with a solution to fix that problem. And those type of moments are just, when I look back at how I used to handle things, is just amazingly different. um, He instantly started to get mad, of course, when I did that, but I was able to calm him down because of the way I handled the situation. Whereas it could have easily went south. He could have started screaming, yelling, walking out. I could have screamed back, told him you're freaking fired, you know. And what would that do? Leave me employeeless, leave me, just buried in work. Instead of helping this gentleman that I know has a problem, and all he can do is help going. And that's one thing I try to do every day of my life, is to show this program, to live this program, to make it where this program is first in my life every time. Because I don't get the opportunity to do things if I don't have this life. My wife was actually a little upset with me today because I came to speak, because my two granddaughters are in a Christmas play this morning at 11 o'clock. And she asked me, would you rather go to the play or go to the meeting and speak? And I said, honestly, I'm going to the meeting to speak, because that's what changes our life and makes us have this life that we have. That's how important it is. Not that my grandchildren are not important. They're very important. AA is a little more important than AA is the most important thing in my life, because like I said, I don't have life without AA. It was taken from me. It was crumbling around me when I was drinking. And I can't ever go back to it. It's just something that now, after tasting the fruits of this, I want more. I don't want less. I don't know any alcoholic that has ever said this is bad for me. It changes your life in ways that I can't express. I can show you throughout my actions throughout the day, but I can't express what it really has done to me. I can say it, but you don't feel that like I feel it. And all of this has just changed my life so much. And I've got to meet people, just wonderful people in my life, like Will is one of them. He's a good friend. He's become an exceptional employee. And that's one thing that I've found, is that the AA members are above and beyond the normals, as we call them. They go the extra mile. They care, And that's something that Alcoholics Anonymous has showed me, that people in Alcoholics Anonymous actually care what they're doing, and they're not there just to collect the paycheck. They're there to be part of it. And that's just huge, to be part of life. And all of this is not possible without a little bit of willingness and a lot of bit of letting go. I can't stress that enough. If you got a problem, let it freaking go. Let God handle it. Process it. You'll come up with the right decision, the right answer, if you give it enough time to process. Don't try to be that quick fix that when we're alcoholic, when we're drinking, those instant get me out of this situation, because those don't work. Everything that I do in my life is revolved around AA. And there's not a moment that I regret coming in here. And every time I come into a meeting, I get something out of it. I always get relief. No matter how I'm feeling, as soon as I open that door, I still feel a sense of relief. And that's due to this camaraderie ship that we have here. All these people that understand how I feel, the problems I've gone through, how I've gone through them. And there's never a moment that I feel alone. Not once do I feel alone anymore. There's always somebody there that wants to help me. In fact, I was busy like 5, 6 years into my sobriety, and I was busy for a little while, and didn't make a couple meetings, and people were coming by the shop, checking on me, calling me. They wouldn't let me get out of the herd. So I'm very fortunate that way. I've got to meet some amazing people like Lyle and his family back there. You guys are great. You've shown me ways that how to act, and you've said things in these rooms that I resonate with, and it's carried a lot of weight in my sobriety. So I thank you guys for being here, and all of you. And, like Carl was showing me the other day that you can go out and come back in and still hold your head high, things like that. And it's just an amazing way to live life. And if you just are on the fence at all about this, just dig in a little deeper, because you're just going to be amazed. My sponsor told me when I was in my first year of sobriety to write down where I wanted to be in 5 years, my goals, basically. And when I reached that 5-year mark, I had surpassed those goals by 10-fold. I had no idea that much life was available to me, and it's just been an amazing ride, and I think that's where I'll ended up at. I just say thank you all for being here. Thank you for asking me to speak, and just keep trudging on. It's worth it. So don't ever back up while we go forward. And the spirituality part of this program is an endless source. You can't tap out on it. So keep going. That's one thing that I like about this is there is no limit to this program. You can take it as far as you want, or you can stop whenever you want. The farther you go, the more relief you get. So thank you very much.